Hi, folks. Something a bit different this week because the Zoom didn't record this morning, so at the service. So I thought I'd just give a quick hash of what we reflected on this morning because there's a couple of wonderful readings and it was very nice to reflect on them. I started by reading the gospel reading, which is, as I've heard it termed, a real it's a healing sandwich. What I'll do is I will use the wonders of Zoom, if you'll pardon the clunkiness, to share with you that PowerPoint and read the reading. Okay. Oops. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. Then one of the leaders of the synagogue named Jairus came, and when he saw him, fell at his feet and begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." So he went with him, and a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who'd been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had, and she was no better, but rather grew worse. She'd heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'You touched me'?" He looked all around to see who had done it, but the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, some people came from the leader's house to say, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the leader of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." He allowed no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the leader of the synagogue, he saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. When he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make a commotion and weep? The child is not sleeping, not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him and went in where the child was. In this sacred reading, there is wisdom. May you find it. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha Cum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl got up and began to walk about. She was 12 years of age. At this, they were overcome with amazement. He strictly ordered them that no one should know this and told them to give her something to eat. In this sacred reading, may you find wisdom and truth. I read a book by Bob Graham, picture book, which is Bob Graham's one of my favourite authors of picture books, on how to heal a broken wing. So I'll read this to you. High above the city, no one heard a soft thud of feathers against glass. No one saw the bird fall. No one looked. Except Will. Will saw a bird with a broken wing. and he took it home. A loose feather can't be put back, but a broken wing can sometimes heal. With rest. And time. And a little hope. A bird may fly again. Will opened his hands. And with a beat of its wings, the bird was gone. What I love about this reading, it's really two stories, sort of, as I said, healing sandwich, and there is so much to say about it. But I loved the compassion and the love that is shown in this reading. It's two powerful stories brought together, really. I think to show not Jesus as a healing magician, but as one bringing healing into the world. I love the story because in so many of Bob Graham's stories, there is, well, there's a Jesus figure in my way of thinking, and it's usually the child. In this case, it's little Will, the child who sees the need for compassion and really heals the bird. He sees the bird's plight and pain in the midst of a crowd with everybody walking by, like the woman with a hemorrhage, really, who'd been ignored for those 12 years, and drags his mother back to grab the bird, to take the bird and gently take it home. And with time and with care and with love, bring healing to the bird until he releases it. I feel that's got a lot in common again with the story, because in the Jesus story, Jesus is touched by the woman, and the woman with the hemorrhage, he doesn't rebuke her. He, in fact, compliments her and says really that it's her faith that has brought her to healing. It's faith that's helped bring her into a new place, into a new place in her life, and then in a way, she's sort of set free, like the bird. Some beautiful pictures. This is of that show some of the tenderness in these stories. This one is obviously of the child that Jesus has healed. Other images within that too, but tenderness in the picture. I love the image on the bottom right, which has the woman sort of in her anonymity, but in her need, reaching out, hoping for healing. These stories, to me, as I said, only have real power, or they have real power, partly because of the history, but partly because they show us that's what is in the midst of Jesus' teaching. What is at the heart of it is a Jesus who wants to bring healing to the world, not through magic, not through being a magician, but through showing the way of love. there were people in that congregation who gave their own wisdom as I invited them, and different people reflected in different ways on the reading. One person reflected that, like the story, there was a need that what wasn't in the story, Jesus' story, but was in the Will's story, is how rest brings healing, and in some ways, I think that the gentleness in these Jesus stories also is about that need for rest. I invite you to open yourself to the questions and the heart of these readings, and I hope that they will bring that sense of the compassionate love of God into your life.